Hello, my name is Catherine Hallisey Ayala. I have spent the last 10 months working on my professional certificate in coding in MIT XPro's Full Stack Developer course. Now that I have completed my capstone project, a takeout ordering app I call Order In, I'd like to tell you about the app and the process of building it. This will be the first video in a 3-part series. In this first video, I'll share a high-level overview of the app's layers, a map of the front-end's architecture, details on the authentication process I used, and information on accepting payments. The front end is built using Next.js, a React and JavaScript framework. Some advantages that I noticed while using Next.js were the ease of using file-based routing in Next and the enhanced communication of errors to me as a developer. The front end also uses Tailwind CSS to implement an attractive design, especially with respect to the restaurant and dish cards. I haven't worked with Tailwind before, so this was a really great learning opportunity for me. A few APIs were essential to this project. The Apollo and GraphQL APIs structure the front-end's communication with the back-end. Later in the presentation, I'll get into more detail regarding the GraphQL queries and mutations that manipulated data from the front end. The Stripe API enabled the app to securely accept payments. More details on that later too. The back-end holds all of the data associated with the app in a Strapi database, which runs off a PostgreSQL database. The Order In app has several components that are available to all front-end files because they are wrapped around the app in the _app.js file. These ubiquitous components are App Provider, which handles persistent user and cart data, Apollo Provider, which provides the app with an interface to the database through an API URL, and the layout component, which provides a navbar, an indication when the front end is loading through the loader component, and the shopping cart in the cart component. The app loads the index page by default, which provides a restaurant search bar, and calls on the restaurant list component to display restaurants. The restaurant list component makes use of a component called restaurant card. If the user clicks on a restaurant, the app loads a page for that restaurant, displaying dishes on the restaurant's menu in a component called dish card. The register and login pages handle the user account. They are available in the navbar, and they utilize the form component. Finally, from the cart, the user can proceed to the checkout page, which calls the checkout cart and checkout form components. The Order In app authenticates users by verifying that their email and password exist in the Strapi database. It passes the user's email and password to the Strapi database through a GraphQL mutation. If the email and password are a positive match, the GraphQL mutation returns a JSON web token along with a user object. The client can use the JSON web token in any other calls for data from the database. The user object is passed into the app context, which the navbar accesses in order to display the user's email address in the navbar, for example. Stripe is an industry standard for handling payments on the web. Therefore, I used it in the Order In app. Stripe has a reputation for security, and I think storing the user's payment information in Stripe rather than using my own database is a much more secure strategy. Stripe offers developers a lot of tools, like a well-documented API on implementing payments. Stripe also offers a test platform to prove your functionality before moving into production and collecting real payments. Plus, I made use of Stripe's logging feature to troubleshoot my app's calls to Stripe. The Order In app uses Stripe on the front end's checkout form to display a Stripe card element where the user can enter credit card information. The Order In backend uses Stripe in order to complete the payment transaction. This concludes my presentation on the overall architecture, the authentication, and the payments in my Order In app. Look out for my part 2 and part 3 videos. Thanks for listening.